Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Lesson 3, Physical and Chemical Properties. Your objectives for this lesson are to distinguish between physical properties and chemical properties of matter, and to accurately describe a substance or mixture's properties. This lesson will help you use characteristic physical or chemical properties to distinguish one substance from another. Question for your notes today. What properties of a substance or mixture can we discover without changing it chemically? You are going to see a special guest video today by Kristen Bourne, not a personal friend, just someone who has a really nice video on YouTube. While you watch, make sure you take notes on the following terms, so write down the list before you continue. Physical property, density, malleability, and chemical property. Okay, I'm going to turn you over to Kristen. The video cuts off a second later than I wanted it to, so it's in the middle of a sentence, but you don't need that sentence. All right, go ahead.
Look around you. What do you see? What kinds of things surround you? Maybe a notebook, or your keyboard, or a coin in your pocket, or even a pet. Think about how you may describe those things. What do they all have in common? You may be able to come up with some similarities, but one key similarity is that they are all matter. Matter is everything around you. Your pencil, a book, even you are matter. One of the most important things that chemists do is describe matter. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. Chemists spend their days working with matter, describing it, making measurements, and even changing its form. Let's take a closer look at a coin in your pocket. It is made from a metal. You can tell it is made from a metal because it's shiny and maybe has a silvery color. Those two descriptions I gave it were called physical properties. A physical property is a characteristic that can be observed or measured without changing the composition. If you toss your coin into a fountain, it will sink. This is because your coin is more dense than the water in the fountain. Density is another example of a physical property. Your coin may be a little wet, but it is still composed of the same material as it was before you tossed it in the fountain. Other examples of physical properties include color, smell, boiling point, mass, volume, and temperature. Now let's talk about your car. Your car is likely made from a metal as well. How can you tell? It probably has a very similar density as the coin in your pocket. What other properties does a car have? If you've ever seen a fender bender, then you know that metals are quite bendable. When they hit something, they dent instead of shattering like glass. This property is known as malleability. It is a property that almost all metals share and is a physical property because your car is still composed of the same metal after it's dented. It just may look a little different. But what happens if we fast forward 10 years? Now what does your car look like? Chances are that it may be starting to form some rust. Unfortunately, the iron that was used to make your car is not the most stable of the metals. When it is exposed to oxygen, it transforms into rust. This ability to react to oxygen to form rust is called a chemical property. A chemical property is a characteristic that can only be determined by changing the chemical identity of a substance. What we started with was iron, but when it reacts with the oxygen in the air, it turns to iron oxide, or rust. What are some of the physical properties of rust? Are they anything like the properties of iron? Are they anything like the properties of oxygen? No, rust has its own set of properties. First, unlike its metallic counterpart, it's brittle. It's also a dull reddish-brown color. So the ability to react with oxygen is a chemical property of...
Okay, welcome back from the video. To sum up what you just saw, a physical property is a characteristic of a pure substance that can be observed without changing it into another substance. Some of them include density, malleability, hardness, color, melting point, and boiling point. Those are the temperatures when the substance melts or boils. A chemical property is a characteristic of a pure substance that describes its ability to change into a different substance. For example, reactivity to oxygen, reactivity to water, acidity, and alkalinity are all chemical properties. That's it for today, folks. Make sure that you do the activity that follows this one, and that if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or room for improvement in your science class, that you get in touch with me by any number of ways: BBIM, carrier pigeon, email, cyber cafe, live class. I love to hear from you. Have a great day.